I'm joined now by the Manic Street Preachers, well, two of them, Nick on bass, James, vocals and guitar. How you doing?
Alright.
Yeah, not too bad, sir.
You're often, well, in fact, invariably compared to The Clash.
Yeah.
Do you resent the comparison? It crops up all the time.
I resent the fact that, now they're doing a Levi ad, and Mick Jones is just a total arsehole, but the first lyrics, especially on the first album, had a great influence us on as lyric writers. Musically, I don't know. James knows about that. He's a musician. The Clash to us, we was too young to appreciate the Clash when they come out. We just look back, and the first records we look back to was the Who, because they seemed bigger, and then we got into the Rolling Stones, then we got into the Sex Pistols and the Clash, so that they just seem all as part of rock history to us. And we've taken on board we are a massive cliche. We're like bits and parts of all those bands moulded together, and we just want to be the last rock band. The Clash now are just are as obscene as Rolling Stones, and they're just old men.
Do you see yourselves as reacting to this sort of music? I mean, are you really reacting to the sort of stuff that's around now? Are you part of a new movement even?
No, we're just reacting against our lives, against the boredom and frustration in our lives. Music is not the be-all and end-all. It can only make you happy for a certain bit of time. The reason why we formed the band was just like sheer boredom and sheer frustration. Just want to express something. We just haven't got time for any other bands. We're just not interested in them.
So there's no other bands around at the moment that you would even like, let alone compare yourselves to?
Just Public Enemy and Guns N' Roses, really. A real contradiction, I know, but...
Both of them are quite contradictory, in fact.
That's what I mean. We want to just take the best bits of both of them.
Well, I only asked that about other bands, partly because the only other band recently that I can think of that sound anything like you are Birdland. I don't know how you feel about them.
I just think I just don't think they ever stated anything in the lyrics, full stop.
So the lyrics are like of primary importance to you?
Yeah, they're really important. Birdland never had the songs anyway. When I first saw them, I thought they could be good, but they just ended up being bad. I got nothing against them, I just don't care about them. But the lyrics, like, just sleep with me all night long. It's never... Anybody can say that. Kylie says that, and she says it a lot better.
Well, Guns N' Roses say it as well.
But, Guns N' Roses musically are just the best rock band in the world, and that's what, we aim for. Slash is the only guitar hero we've ever had. We could never, look to John Squire or Terry Bickers as guitar heroes, just white boys trying to fiddle around with effects pedals. It's just, we need gods and we need stars, and we know that they're going to really make massive mistakes, and we know we won't.
Well, there's been a lot of stuff in the press. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but as I'm sure you might imagine, about Carter. Now, what's it all about?
Well, Carter?
Yeah, you tell us.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, we've heard that they've been slagging us off at certain gigs, but...
They've been sampling us and stuff.
They've been sampling us at the end of concerts and things. I mean, it doesn't excite me because they're not big enough to matter. If they were a big group and they were criticising us, it'd excite me because I know we'd be reaching a lot of people, but since they're just a poxy little indie band, it doesn't bother me.
And you're sort of like absolutely nothing to do with that sort of indie scene. You're sort
of level in it, that's all. They're proud of the background, we're not.
We've always set ourselves up as, wanting to be a major rock band, and that's all. We're never going to sell anyone out because we've said right from the start we want to be as big as possible, be on the biggest record label, sell the most albums, It's nothing to do with compromise, it's what we've always wanted to be.
To ghettoising yourself is the biggest form of ignorance you can ever indulge in, and we're not interested in that.
Yeah, but you also said in sort of various bits of press before you only want to make one LP and then split up.
Yeah.
How does that fit in with wanting to be the biggest band in the world?
Well, we just want to make the greatest double album ever.
What we should have said is that's all we see beyond. We're not talking in terms of career. That's all. We're not prepared to talk in terms of career when we're just about to release our second major release, and we just don't talk about a career. That's as far as we can see. We just want to see our places in history at this moment. We just want to know where we stand.
I personally don't want to go on because if we get really big, I know I'll just become a complete arsehole after one album. If you're offered every rock and roll excess in the world, anybody in their right mind is going to take it, and I know I would. So I just don't want to. I don't want to end up like Keith Richards. I don't want to end up like Mick Jagger. I just want to get out with my brain intact.
With Sean Ryder.
Oh, I wasn't even going to mention the Happy Monday Roses charlatan stuff.
How much is there to talk about it?
Oh, absolutely nothing. What about? I mean, is it true that A&R men have said stuff like "you can't play"?
Well, it's quite true. Live,
we're just into looking lethal more than, sounding perfectionist. The record is...
We wanted to bring just live concerts back as an art form again. We wanted to make, playing the guitar look lethal, etc., etc. And, when you get into a studio, you sit down, you play. It's completely different. Like, we're not into recreating a record, in a live situation. I think that's retracing your steps, 500 times in 1 year is the most boring thing I can think of. I just don't know why. I need people to look up to when, when I go and see a concert, and that's where we come from, really.
Do you think you're maybe setting yourself up for getting lots of abuse by sort of the way you dress and wearing eye makeup and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's what we always wanted to do. We want to threaten like the traditional male concepts of, like the last 2 years have seen such a reinforcement of males. Have got to have a can of Heineken in their hand. They've got to like slap their women around a bit. They've got to wear jeans. They've got to wear jumpers. I just find it absolutely hideous.
Do you think there's been something of a backlash against Manic Street Preachers in the music press?
Well, I think so. I think, a lot of people are trying to make us out to be a joke, but that's just because they cannot take something serious. The music press these days is just scared of anyone saying that they want to do something. Every other band just wants to scrape in the top 40, chuck an album out and do lots of gigs. They cannot handle the fact that we have just totally threatened them. We want to bypass the music press. They are useless. Every band that they make are just so small time. Def Leppard's guitarist died, and they sold 20 million albums. They wouldn't even put him, he had a little news story. Shaun Ryder is a baby. He didn't sell any records at all. And they put him on, a full page. It just shows the barometer. If they're a barometer of youth culture, then, they just got their heads up their ass. They haven't got a clue. Well, real people, provincial people especially, just don't care about things like that.
Has there been a problem coming from Wales?
Well, just the usual sort of sheep shagging jokes and stuff like that.
But it has made us in a certain sense because we grew up in a vacuum and we fed off each other and we just became totally self-obsessed and we hated everything around us. So it did make us in a sense, even though we hate where we come from sometimes, just as everybody else does, it does make you, I suppose.
I'm really glad we come from Wales. I mean, people just want to escape, and I'm sure there's millions of places around there, in the whole country. They need more, when you go to school, your mum dresses you up in flares just to make you look really silly. And
maybe that's what happened to the Stone Roses.
Yeah,
Right, just about out of time. So, right. James and Nick from the Manic Street Preachers, thanks very much for coming in to talk to us.
See you soon.
And I'll see you soon.
All right.
Cheers.